If you're a small space gardener, you may think that you're not going to be able to grow a lot of food, but that's typically not the case. I'm going to show you how to grow more in a small space. So often we think that we need lots of land to grow lots of food, but they've actually done studies, and growing in an urban setting typically has much higher yields than traditional agricultural areas. The National Proceeding of Sciences found that community gardens in Australia actually had twice the amount of produce in the same space an agricultural farm in that same area did. You can grow a lot of food, even in small spaces. The key to maximizing space is using every square inch you can. I've got 3 tips that will help you increase the amount of food you're able to grow, no matter whether you're growing on an apartment balcony or a small urban lot. And I will be doing a giveaway at the end of this video, which will be for a Greenstalk Planter, my #1 way to grow more food in less space. Tip number 1 for growing food in the city is using all available space, even the front yard. We often think we have to hide our food production in the backyard, but unless you're in an HOA and there are guidelines you have to follow, you can grow food in your front yard. So don't leave that space vacant. Fill it with productive food and landscaping. And if you don't have a full city lot to work with, you can use balconies, porches, stairways to get upstairs, sunny windowsills, containers by the front door. There are lots of ways you can squeeze food into all of the nooks and crannies you have around your house. Another way to utilize all available space is to grow food in the shade. A lot of people think that you can't grow food under trees and that kind of thing, but there are a lot of crops that do quite well in the shade. Things like chaya can take sun or shade. Moringa can take sun or shade. Ginger, turmeric, acacia all do wonderfully in shade to full shade. You can grow longevity spinach, Okinawan spinach. There's lots of ways that you can incorporate food even into those subpar conditions that your annual vegetables wouldn't necessarily like. Another way to incorporate food is to do edible landscaping. Rather than putting a crepe myrtle or some other ornamental shrub into your landscaping out front or even in the backyard, swap it out for something that's beautiful and productive. Things like fruit trees do beautifully in the landscape. They give you the structure that you're looking for, the flowers, but they also produce you food. Tip number 2 for growing more food in a small space is planting densely. Basically, don't go by the recommendations on the back of the seed packet. Those are for traditional settings. When you work in rows like that, you're gonna not be able to grow very much food at all. If we take a little bit of thought and put it into our garden plan, we're gonna be able to plant way more plants in the same amount of space and still allow the plant the room that it needs to thrive. So planting densely like this with the cabbage allows us to fit 3 cabbage in the space that a traditional plant spacing would only grow 1. By offsetting them just enough so that they can grow and expand to their full potential without leaving space in between, we can grow more in a small space. You can also think about things like plants that grow low, like a ground cover, next to something that grows more upright. Those nestle together and allow you to grow more food in the same amount of space without competing for light. It is really important though when you're planting more densely to make sure that you have quality soil. I do have videos on how to properly amend your soil so that you know the plants have the nutrition they need. Tip number 3 for growing more food in small spaces is going vertical. Growing vertical allows you to have the same number of plants but use less space for them. I have passion fruit and black beans that climb on these trellises that lead down the side of my house in otherwise unused space. It still functions the same for me, but it also grows me food. Watermelon's another great example. If we were to let it sprawl out on the ground, a watermelon plant could easily take up 4 to 6 square feet. If you trellis it, it takes up 6 inches. There's so many different ways you can trellis. None of them are wrong. Think outside the box and use what you have available, whether it's a chain link fence or whether it's arbors or bamboo stakes. All of those will allow you to train the veggies up so that you can squeeze more in the soil you have. I love container gardening. It's a great way to grow food in patios, porches, or somewhere where you can't really fit a raised bed. Things like peppers and eggplants do especially well in them because they're longer lived, short-lived perennials, which means they'll live for several years. By growing them in pots and containers, you're keeping them out of the annual vegetable garden bed where you have this constant turnover. But when you work with traditional pots, you might have one plant in 1 square foot, like these pots here. But to maximize your space even more, you could grow in something like a Greenstalk where you grow vertically, you're growing up. In that same amount of space, you can fit 30 plants instead of just 1. All right, giveaway time. Here's how it works. There is a link down in the description below for you to enter to win a Greenstalk planter. It's the original 5-tier in the color of your choice, and they are including a spinner base, which is a vast improvement over their original base, so that you can easily turn the planter and catch the sunlight without shading out any of the vegetables. The original can grow 30 plants in 19 square inches. That's a ton of food in a really small space. It can grow anything from tomatoes to cucumbers to lettuce. You can grow pretty much anything in these planters. They also have the leaf, which is a little bit shallower base, but you can fit 7 tiers, giving you the ability to grow 42 plants in 19 square inches. So, link down below to enter to win, and if you'd rather just shop, you can do so by the link below. I have a code that gets you guys $10 off your purchase, and it helps to support the work I do at no additional cost to you. I don't want to leave you guys wondering what to plant in your new Greenstalk, so I am also going to be including a 1-year subscription to my small garden seed club. You'll get 3 varieties of in-season seed to plant mailed to you each month, and it comes with a seed success card which includes tips on planting, care, even harvesting. If you need the large garden package, or if you just can't wait to see if you win, I do have a link down below so that you can sign up to join our garden community. All right, you guys have all the details on how to enter to win your Greenstalk planter and seed club. Now let's talk about how to grow food in as little as 5 inches of space.